As a practicing physician, I wanted to create a place that folks could go to that not only delivers great health information in a way that's understandable and useful, but also share inspirational stories to help us all grow. People think that once you're adults, you're done learning. You are not. In order to be successful, you have to have an open mind to learn. Real problems discussed in depth with real solutions. This is the Dr. Nandi Show. We all experience times that we're depressed or feel anxious about something. But for those who suffer from anxiety disorder and depression, the challenge to get through the day is real. In the United States, anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness affecting 40 million adults, or about 18% of the population every single year. Now, those with anxiety disorders often have depression as well, and vice versa. Depression affects more than 16 million U.S. adults and is the leading cause of disability in 15 to 44-year-olds. Now, women have a greater chance of having depression than men. Those numbers are startling. 350 million people worldwide suffer from depression. And what's equally surprising is every day as a physician and gastroenterologist, I have patients who come to me about their GI issues. And after I evaluate them, I find they often have depression, anxiety, and mood disorders. Certainly a lot can contribute to the cause of these problems, things like low self-esteem, alcohol or drugs, prescription medications, or family history. But I've seen it again and again. Improve the health of your gut and you'll improve your mood, your immune system, and many chronic conditions. Coming up on the Dr. Nandi Show, information that will have you thinking twice about what you eat.
I mean, I was a completely healthy person, and then all of a sudden, after one, order of chicken taquitos, I got sick, and it changed everything. My wedding was supposed to be the happiest time of my life. Celebrating with family, showers, finding that perfect wedding dress was supposed to be the moment that I had dreamt of since I was a child playing with my Barbie dolls. And I remember back to that day thinking how sad I felt because I wasn't enjoying the moment, how miserable I felt in my body, and how unrelated I felt to the experience. I couldn't wait for it to be over. I should have been enjoying that moment and having that bridal moment, dancing around in the dress that I was going to wear on my wedding day. And the only thing I felt was just pure sadness because I knew something wasn't right.
Well, certainly one of life's happiest moments, and to not be caught up in the fun. Let's hear from Gabby Doria as to exactly what was going on. Hi, Gabby. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course. So what was going on?
Yeah, so back in 2014, I had a terrible bout of food poisoning, and it kind of started a downhill slope after that. I had went to 12 different doctors to try to figure out what was going on with me. I saw a cardiologist, a neurologist, and none of them were listening to my symptoms, and it was all gut related. I was completely healthy before I had this bout of food poisoning, and that just changed everything for my body. And
what kinds of problems were you having, so we can understand?
Yeah, I was having really bad constipation. I had lost 25 pounds. I mean, I was down to 87 pounds. I'm normally about 105, and the doctors just weren't listening to my symptoms. And they kept telling me that it was all in my head and I was just anxious, and I was absolutely anxious because no one was telling me what was wrong with me.
Right, you lost all this weight.
I lost all this weight, and it was scary, I mean, I was a completely healthy person, and then all of a sudden, after one, order of chicken taquitos, I got sick, and it changed everything.
Well, and were you depressed too at that time, huh?
Yeah, I mean, once you lose all that weight, your body changes, and just mentally, I wasn't myself. I didn't like doing the things that I used to do. The anxiety that I had took over my body. I mean, I didn't drive my car for 6 months because I was just terrified to be by myself. I mean, it was awful.
And this had never happened before?
No, never happened before.
You were completely healthy?
Yes, I was completely healthy. I was about 27 at the time this all happened. And I think that was the scariest part because beforehand, I was fine, and then all of a sudden, things just started slowly going downhill. The fatigue set in, the gut issues set in. I couldn't digest any food. It just steadily got worse, and everything the doctors were telling me was, your results all look fine, but I wasn't fine. So, it was just a piece that they were missing. It was just like they were ignoring my symptoms.
And what she's talking about is so common.
Yeah.
There's so many people, I mean, maybe not as much weight loss, obviously, but people being fatigued, having, brain fog, having depression, anxiety, and people don't put it together.
Right.
You go to a psychiatrist or psychologist, they treat the depression.
Yes.
You go to a gastroenterologist or gut doctor, they say, well, here's something for your constipation.
Yes.
And it goes on and on, compartmentalized, meaning that they just treat little pieces of it.
Right.
So it's just a Band-Aid instead of going the root cause. So how did it finally come to a head? What did you find out?
For sure. So I made a promise to myself during this journey, even though I was at the lowest point I've ever been in my life, that I wasn't going to give up until I found someone who listened to me.
Okay.
And I finally found a doctor who did extensive blood tests, and she did a stool sample, and she did a SIBO test as well. And so that's when it uncovered that I had thyroid issues, that in turn was autoimmune. I had Hashimoto's. I also had SIBO and Candida overgrowth as well. So all of that combined explained everything that I was going through, and explained why I would have had those, depression and anxiety as well as everything else.
And SIBO is, just so you guys know what's going on, it's small bowel overgrowth of
Right.
bacteria. So you got all this bad stuff growing in your small intestine. And so what happens is that when your gut doesn't have the right microbiome, or it's the right gut bacteria and the flora, it communicates with the rest of your body. So
Right.
especially for the brain, it produces 90% of serotonin.
Yes.
And there are nerves that connect from the brain to the gut. The gut cells actually connect and talk to every cell in the body. The most complex immune system.
Yes.
It's called the second brain. So when your gut is not right, like hers wasn't, everything goes awry. So then what did you do? By the way, she's been eating healthy her whole life and done everything right. So this is such a shock. So what did you do to correct it?
Yeah, I mean, I had to remind myself that it took, it was about a year and a half before they told me what was wrong. So I was sick for a year and a half, so I had to give myself time to heal. So I changed my diet completely. I went gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free. I approached it on more of a plant-based diet. I made sure I wasn't eating any processed foods. I was adding ginger and sauerkraut and coconut kefir, and everything that I put in my body, I made sure that it was healing my gut as well, with L-glutamine. And that was the most important thing to me, was making sure that I was eating things that healed my body and didn't take me in the other direction.
And so how long did it take before you started feeling a little bit better?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it took a little bit of time, but I feel so great now that it was worth it. It was such a hard experience, but it was worth it.
And here's the thing, there are trillions of bacteria in your gut, right? So you guys are watching. And so it takes a little while to replace those with the good bacteria. There's so many organisms. To get the right mix takes a little while. And then when you take the foods that she's talking about, she's taking probiotics, so they're good bacteria, but she's also taking prebiotics, which are the foods that make them grow. So the combination really makes you flourish. So awesome. 5 years now, at least, and you haven't had any recurrences, have you?
No.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Great job. And thank you for sharing the story with us. I know it was really tough, but you can help a lot of people by people listening to you and say, this is me, and they can also find the solution for them. So
absolutely
awesome. Gabby spent 2 years running from doctor to doctor to find out what was wrong. What if a simple test was able to quickly and easily tell her the probable cause of her depression? Coming up, how Viome is showing the link between gut health and depression. Stay with us.
Our gut is less than 5% same, and that means nothing that you eat has to be good for me. And what's good for me today, as I change my diet, it becomes bad for me, because suddenly I'm only feeding one set of microbes and what they're producing, and overproduction of anything good becomes bad.
Welcome back. You are watching the Dr. Nandi Show. And the gut-brain axis, it's being called the missing link in depression. And now a new service is helping identify this possible connection, along with the connection to other chronic diseases like diabetes, obesity, autoimmune disease, and aging. Please welcome to the show my friend Naveen Jain, founder and CEO of Viome. Naveen, thank you for joining us. Absolutely. So Naveen and I were talking, so tell them, how can kale not be good for you?
Well, it's very simple thing is that there is no such thing as universal healthy food. A food that's good for one person may not be good for someone else. And the food that's good for you today may not be good for you 3 months from now. Because our gut microbiome is constantly changing. Even though you and I and everyone in here shares 99% same DNA, our gut is less than 5% the same. And that means nothing that you eat has to be good for me. And what's good for me today, as I change my diet, it becomes bad for me, because suddenly I'm only feeding one set of microbes and what they're producing, and overproduction of anything good becomes bad.
And you found this out yourself, you know, and when you found out what your microbiome is, you found out some surprising results. Tell us about that.
So it's very interesting. I thought I was really eating healthy. I'm a vegetarian to begin with, and I was eating spinach and avocado and oats and avoiding all the carbs. And I thought, I'm going to do my test, and they're going to put my picture, and here's
best.
what a healthy person looks like, right? It turned out I just had as much effed up guts like anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And they told me what I need to be doing is minimizing eating oats, spinach, avocado, lentil, legumes, and tofu, and kale, right? And now, I have to admit, kale was really good thing because I never liked kale, but spinach, really?
Yeah. So here's the thing. The point is that, you know, there's no one size fits all. So absolutely we say on the show that you should have more plant-based diet, less animal-based diet, and, you know, and organic and everything else. But I think now the revolutionary thing, and we're talking about gut health and brain health.
Yes.
You know, and I've talked about this before, but 90% of the serotonin is produced in the gut. And so there's a connection, the vagus nerve is there, and there's connections between the gut and the brain that really helps your brain be in optimal function. So you developed a test at looking at unbelievable data, right? And to say what type of bacteria you can actually have, and more than that, what you can do then to get the right kind if you don't have it. Tell us about that.
So interesting thing is, you know, your gut is not Las Vegas. What goes on there doesn't stay there. It actually goes all the way to your brain, right? And interesting thing is, we not look at what is there or who is there. We look at what they are doing. So we see, are they producing enough short chain fatty acid that your brain needs, your body needs? Are they producing the vitamins, or they're producing the LPS, which is really toxin and inflammatory compounds? And we look at what is going on, and then we recommend the food that is right for you and the food that you should be avoiding, that you shouldn't be eating. And the thing is, once you eat the right thing and your microbes are in balance, your body becomes at ease. And when your body is at ease, you don't get dis-ease, which is a disease.
That's
right?
exactly
and
right.
the brain and gut are so tightly connected that scientists are finding depression, anxiety, ADHD, OCD, PTSD, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all these are symptoms that are purely the chronic inflammation that's caused by the imbalance of the gut microbiome. You take care of the gut, and they take care of you.
You know, I don't think he's very passionate about what he does. What do you guys think? I mean, he used to work on this enthusiasm here, I tell you. What do you think, Fred? Yeah, a little bit enthusiastic. I'm just kidding, of course. But here's the nice thing about what Naveen is offering with Viome is that I think not only do you get a test that I think is the best test out there for looking at your microbiome, but you have a solution. You know, so many times you get these tests that say you're screwed and that's it, have a good day, right? And you're actually offering a solution. Tell me how good that is to be able to say, I can help with depression, I can help with anxiety. How good is that? And why are you doing this?
So, you know, as you know, Dr. Nandi, I grew up very poor. We didn't have a food to eat. I came to this country with absolutely nothing. God has been so kind to us, and I've started now 7 companies, and any which way you look at it, knock on steel, life has been very good, and God has been very kind to us. I am absolutely determined to solve some of the biggest problems facing humanity. And as you know, my other company is Moon Express, the only company to have permission to land on the moon. And I'm now solving the healthcare problem because I'm absolutely convinced that illness can be a matter of choice, not a matter of bad luck. I don't believe that your genes define your destiny. Your genes are simply what is potentially could happen. And gene expression is what actually is happening. And you can control your gene expression by changing your diet. So what you do, what you breathe, and everything you put in your body is what makes you who you are. And forget what your genes are. Take control of your own health. Become the CEO of your own health. And never let someone tell you that you have to be sick because your genes say that you have to be sick.
Nicely said. And here's the thing, you know, so if you can balance your bacteria and other organisms in your gut, you can actually have complete body health, and not just to help in your depression or your anxiety, but it can help your heart. It can help every other part of your body. Remember, when you have the wrong gut microbiome, inflammation increases, every disease possible. So if people need to know a little bit about Viome, tell me how they can get to your site.
Well, I mean, obviously you can go to Viome.com, just V as in Victor, IOME.com.
Yes.
And when you go there, you not only can sign up, the service like this used to cost $10,000. And now, thanks to the technology, you can do it for $399.
Wonderful.
And every subsequent test is only $199, right? So to me, I want to get this thing to be so cheap that everyone in the world can afford it. It's not us about making money. It's about moving the humanity forward. And together, there is no doubt in my mind, if we all come together, this problem can be solved. All we need is millions of people going through the service, so we have enough data to be able to find out how do we cure cancer, how do we cure obesity, depression, diabetes, and cure we will. And I'm absolutely a firm belief that if we come together, we can actually solve this problem.
Thank you for all you do. I appreciate it. You heard, if your gut is appropriately treated and gets the appropriate nutrition and the environment of the gut is perfect, your entire body can benefit, including your brain, including disease like depression. So now that we've determined that there's a connection between your gut and brain, what's going on in your stomach? Be right back with more on the bacteria and organisms in your belly. Stay with us.
Anytime we eat something, we're either feeding the good bacteria or feeding the bad bacteria. And that balance of bacteria can really change how we feel, how we function, how we behave.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. So now it's time to get serious about the food we eat, right? That fried chicken, she likes that. That fried chicken dinner may not just be adding extra pounds to your waistline, it may be causing your gut to go out of whack. Now joining us is nutritionist Dr. Shawn Talbott. Thanks, Shawn, for being here. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And so what's really going on in our guts when we eat that fried chicken that tastes oh so good in your mouth? What's going on in your gut, though?
Right. Well, you know, we used to think about the gut as just digestion, right? It was just to digest and absorb some food. But now what we realize is that these hundreds of trillions of bacteria in our gut, our microbiome, anytime we eat something, we're either feeding the good bacteria or feeding the bad bacteria. And that balance of bacteria can really change how we feel, how we function, how we behave.
And bad news for you guys, that fried chicken ain't doing a thing for the good bacteria.
That's right.
No reaction. They're like, oh, we knew that. But you know, so many Americans, right? Millions of Americans are going to their fast food restaurants and eating that stuff because they're just, you know, listening to food scientists who make it taste good. So when you're eating processed foods like that, you're really destroying your gut microbiome, aren't you?
You really are. When you're eating those kinds of processed foods or fast foods, you're feeding the bad bacteria. The reason that those are bad bacteria is because they create chemicals that will make us feel bad. They'll interfere with our good chemicals like our serotonin. They'll increase inflammatory chemicals that go through the body. So it's not just our mental wellness that suffers, but also our physical health because we're growing the wrong kind of bacteria.
And you know, and the nice thing about this, the good news is that, you know, a lot of people come to me and say, well, my dad had diabetes, my grandma had a heart attack, and somebody else had some other disease. I'm just screwed, might as well just go for it. And really what you're saying is, no, you can actually take control of your health with your nutrition and your gut microbiome, right?
Yeah, you absolutely can. So there's a direct effect where those good bacteria are producing more of the good chemicals. They're producing more serotonin, more dopamine, more GABA, more of these neurotransmitters that make us feel good. If we can starve out those bad bacteria, we don't produce as many of those inflammatory chemicals. But one of the really cool aspects of science now is that microbiome changes how the genes in our bodies are expressed. So you could have a bad gene or a bad hereditary profile, but if your gut is good, you're going to express those genes in a healthy way.
And that's amazing. What Shawn said was just phenomenal. Here's why, is because you can have genetics that give you an increased risk for certain diseases, but this is called epigenetics. So
Right.
there's a whole idea behind called epigenetics where certain things happen around those genes, turn this one on, that one off.
That's right.
And guess what? If you eat the right way, you know, to support a good microbiome, a good gut flora, then you can change flip the script and reverse the entire process. Then you've got some amazing foods out here. I'll show the audience here. Tell me about them. We got some broccoli, we've got beans and these berries. Tell me about how that can reverse some of the problems you're having.
Right. One of the greatest things about understanding the microbiome is that we know we can change it in just a few days. Within about 3 days, we can change your microbiome from a, what we call dysbiotic. It's unbalanced and it's producing the wrong kinds of chemicals. If we feed it the right foods, not only do you grow the right kinds of bacteria, but you starve away the bad guys. So what you see on the plate there is very high fiber foods. The best thing you can do for your microbiome is eat high fiber foods. So green leafies and beans and the berries that you see there are high in flavonoids. These are what we call phytobiotics. They don't necessarily grow the good bacteria, but they protect them once they're there. So eat the fiber to grow the good guys, then protect them and displace the bad guys. And that's a really good way to go.
Here's the nice thing about them, like I always say, they're delicious.
They are.
And, you don't have to go to some specialty store to get them, right? You can get them anywhere.
Any grocery store is going to carry these kinds of things. You don't have to travel far away. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can get them right there.
And notice that what Shawn's got, you guys have to really listen to that. Look at the color. Eat stuff with color. If you got, whites and beige and brown and that kind of crap, just get that out. Get the stuff with color.
That's right.
And learn to adjust your diet. You'll love one of these things and start eating them. So, in addition, you've got something here called the Mental Wellness Company. Tell me about that.
Right. So Amare is a mental wellness company. So looking at meditation and mindfulness and exercise and sleep patterns and all that kind of stuff. But a big piece of mental wellness is the microbiome, is this gut-brain axis. And so we recommend that people eat a good diet, eat the bright colored, eat the fiber, reduce the processed foods. But then you can get very therapeutic with it, and you can take specific strains of probiotics that are good for depression or anxiety or stress. You can get specific prebiotic fibers that can improve stress resilience. So you can lower your stress, but you can make yourself more resilient for the next stress. That's the next phase of nutrition.
And why do you think the gut's a great place to start for treatment of diseases like depression?
As a biochemist, I think, when we look at depression, it's being sensed here in our first brain, but it's probably starting in our second brain, in our gut. And so what we like to do is look as far back in the biochemistry as we can and say, well, maybe it's your neurotransmitters, but you know what, maybe it's your inflammation. Well, wait a minute, maybe it's your immune system, maybe it's your gut health, maybe it's your microbiome. And if we can go all the way back and get all of those pieces of the gut-brain axis balanced, you're going to be in the best state possible.
Well said. Awesome stuff. And here's the thing, it's not just he's telling you about a problem, but there's a fix, an easy fix. Fix what you're eating. Don't eat fried chicken. Don't go through fast food restaurants. Go to your grocery store, get a lot of color, and talk about, some of the supplements that he's got here that could really give you the right strain of bacteria. So amazing stuff. Thank you for coming and sharing
My pleasure.
This information with us. I appreciate it. Stick around. We want to hear more about his research and perhaps a patient that he's treated that can tell you how it can make a big difference. Please stay with us.
But when I really reflect on the situation, my mom was a single mom and we ate a ton of processed food. So when I really look back at the root cause of everything, I can't ignore that piece.
Absolutely. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and today we're learning the great truth in you are what you eat. So poor nutrition can easily knock your gut out of balance, leading to all sorts of problems. Now, rejoining us is nutritionist Shawn Talbott, who's done extensive research on the gut flora. And with him is one of his research participants, Carrie Motluck. Carrie, welcome. Thanks for coming out and talking to us. So, Carrie, what was going on with you, and tell us about your symptoms that you're having before you met this gentleman.
So it began when I was 16 years old. I've had chronic irritable bowel syndrome. And I went to numerous doctors, gastroenterologists, and no one could ever really seem to find out what was going on with me. So I was just always kind of labeled as someone who had a lot of anxiety. And because of that, I must have IBS.
Right.
In addition, I started taking antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs at the age of 18. And I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with them because I don't like being dependent on something where I feel like I have the power to be able to help myself, yet I struggled and couldn't find a way to do so.
And so back when you were 18, what kinds of problems were you having that you had to take these medicines for anxiety?
I'm slightly type A.
It's okay.
And a high achiever, and I do put a lot of pressure on myself. panic attacks would be probably first and foremost. And just
Like in high
negative,
school?
yes, starting in high school, and just a lot of negative self-talk. But when I really reflect on the situation, my mom was a single mom, and we ate a ton of processed food. So when I really look back at the root cause of everything, I can't ignore that piece.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, you know, people always think, well, my thoughts are my own. And this is the thing that a lot of people struggle with, that they think that the way they're thinking, if they're anxious or if they're having some issues, you know, with their mental state, that it's something that's inherent, it's part of you. But really, what you said was very critical. If you eat crap, guess what? Not only do you gain weight and feel sluggish, the signals from your gut to your brain are also full of crap. And then you feel like crap everywhere, simply put. And so then, Shawn, what happened with Carrie? What was going on, and what did you find?
Yeah, well, so you're exactly right. A lot of those signals that she was experiencing here in her brain were probably signals that were coming from the gut. She was getting the wrong signals from the wrong kind of bacteria. So what we wanted to do was change the environment, change the ecology of her gut, so that she got the right signals. So that entails giving the right probiotics, specific strains of probiotics that help with depression or anxiety or stress, and then feeding them with the right prebiotic fibers so that they thrive and that they grow at an appropriate.
So how'd you find out what was going on with her?
Well, I mean, just from what she described, you know, the symptoms of a lot of processed foods, a lot of gut issues, a lot of feeling, you know, even if you don't feel depressed necessarily, not feeling the way you want to feel, not having that what we call vigor or motivation, those are all key signs that
Brain fog, lack of motivation,
all
always
of that.
tired. People tell me, I mean, one of the biggest things, I'm always tired, Doc, I have no idea. You know, and hang on one second, let me have another French fry.
Right.
You know, and they don't see the connection at all, right? And so what did you do?
So we got on a regimen of specifically, first of all, feeding the right foods. A lot of high fiber foods, hardly any processed foods, low on sugar, lots of water, just 3 days, right? We call it a 3-day reboot to get that gut microbiome out of this imbalanced state back to sort of a neutral state. So 3 days isn't going to do it necessarily. 3 days will help you feel better, right? You probably felt better after the first 3 days because you're eating the right foods and you're avoiding the bad foods and you're starting to change the balance of those bacteria. But now we go in with specific strains of probiotics to grow the ones that we want to grow. And we give them the right kinds of fibers, we give them the right kinds of phytobiotics, these flavonoids that will protect them once
like you
they're
showed
there.
Earlier, yeah.
Exactly. And to displace those bad bacteria. And once we can do that, once you can get the right balance there, those proper signals start to come back and people go, wow, it wasn't just in my head. I feel better now. And the secret of it is that it wasn't just in your head, it was in your gut too.
And what's nice about it, of course, you're giving her specific supplements with specific probiotics and prebiotics, but a lot of this is found in Mother Nature as well. You can go to this unbelievable place called your grocery store and actually get this stuff and actually buy it and not have to, you know, go and get a home equity loan in order to get the stuff.
That's
some
right.
Some of the things that people give, it's only $500 for 1 month. You know, no, people can't afford it. But the berries you talk about, the broccoli you talked about, you can afford. And you know, when you look back, Carrie, at your life, your dad also, tell me about, I mean, could this have something to do with his life as well?
I firmly believe so. My dad committed suicide almost 6 years ago now. And again, when I reflect back at his death, every day he had some new stomach issue. I mean, he was a truck driver and he would tell me these stories where he would literally pull over on the side of the road because he had to go to the bathroom and couldn't wait until he found a bathroom.
Wow.
So I can't help but think that if we
could there be a connection?
Exactly.
Because how many truck stops have good, nutritious food, right? I mean,
Exactly.
I mean, you know, hardly any. And here's the thing that people struggle with is that their lives are, you know, their lives and their environment is such that it makes it nearly impossible. What I tell them is that, you know, if you make your health and your life the first priority, and you have to really do that and find a goal, then, you know, you find ways in which you can overcome those. Obstacles are going to be there no matter what, right? So you can do one of two things: be taken by those obstacles and say, you know what, you can kill me, and you know this is what I want to do, or find solutions like you did, you know, and thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for your expertise. It's going to help a lot of people. We have to take a break. Coming up, foods to live by, what you should incorporate into your daily menu to keep your gut healthy. You don't want to miss that. Stay with us.
Well, we have overused antibiotics. We've gone through the drive-thrus too much, and our guts are just not healthy.
Welcome back. You are watching the Dr. Nandi Show. Now, we know that yogurt is a great go-to for probiotics and keeping the natural balance of our gut. But what other foods are rich with probiotics? Joining us now is Lisa Norris. She has a doctorate in nursing, focusing a lot of her profession on healthy gut. Along with a busy practice, Lisa owns a community garden to provide fresh produce and healthy foods to her neighborhood. Her patients know her as Nurse Norris. Welcome, Nurse Norris. How are you?
Good, great.
So, a lot of buzz about fermented foods. What's going on here? Why is everybody talking about fermented foods and your gut?
Well, we have overused antibiotics. We've gone through the drive-thrus too much, and our guts are just not healthy.
Yeah.
We are what we eat, and back in the old days, people had to preserve their food, so they started pickling things and fermenting things to keep them,
Right.
so we wouldn't get sick that way. So now it's what's old is new,
Right.
and here we are.
And so, the idea that Nurse Norris is talking about is that we are destroying our gut. And, the show is really about gut and how it relates to the mind. We're destroying our gut by using, when she says drive-thrus, you're going getting processed foods, simple sugars, a lot of crap that your body doesn't need, including your gut. And then when that happens, it destroys the gut microbiome. So microbiome means, the good stuff that's there. And so how do fermented foods then help to really get that back, or even replenish the good bacteria that you have and the good bugs that you have?
So what fermented foods do is they break down the sugars and turns it into lactic acid. So that's something that we can really take in a lot easier, and it gives us the good bacteria and keeps the bad bacteria out.
So the good bacteria love this kind of stuff because what they like the stuff that it produces, and it helps it flourish, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And how often should we be eating this stuff? Like 3 times a day, twice a
Well,
week? Tell people some
You
guidance
should
there.
probably start a little slowly, okay? And this one recipe that I brought today, it can be adapted for people. Like
And this is kimchi, everybody. So if you don't know what that is, it's kimchi, a great
fermented cabbage.
fermented
basically.
cabbage, and it's in Asia and Korea, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's similar. It would be like sauerkraut.
Correct.
So I would say to actually, go slow. Add one thing a day. Do that for a couple weeks and then see how it goes.
What other foods besides the kimchi that you think that some of your patients like?
Right now, what's really popular is a fermented tea, kombucha tea.
Yeah.
We have kefir too, which is a fermented milk, yogurt, pickles.
So a lot of choices.
Miso soup.
A lot of choices.
Yes.
And now you would agree that you can get that at any grocery store now, can't you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so for my patients, when I tell them, here's how I approach it. I tell them that, listen, this could help you with the stuff that you're taking medicines for, right? If you've got high blood pressure, if you've got diabetes, if you're always tired, and people complain, oh, I'm always tired, I don't know what to do because I don't understand, I'm working out, and I'm eating right, and I'm still feeling fatigued. I say, you know what? Change the stuff that you're eating, and it could really help. So I give them the goals, and when I give them the goals, they usually, I think, really are more conducive to change that. Thank you for all you're doing, and especially the community garden where you supply people with great foods. And this is amazing stuff. Remember, fermented foods can really be helpful. With the connection between your gut and your brain, researchers looking at other disorders that might be caused by a problem in the gut. It's interesting stuff. Please stay with us.
I had one child, he was 3 years old. He had no language. 3 months on a gluten-free and dairy-free diet, he had 200 words.
You are watching the Dr. Nandi Show. Thanks for staying with us. Now, researchers are taking the gut-brain connection a step further and looking at the possible link to other conditions such as autism. Now, studies are finding that the majority of autistic children have poor gut health. Joining us now is Julie Matthews. Now, Julie is a nutritionist and author of Nourishing Hope for Autism. Julie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Such a scary disease for parents. So, what is the research about kids with autism and gut health? Tell us about it, please.
Yeah, sure. It's 4 times more likely that children with autism are going to have gut issues. And if you look at the studies done on children with autism, up to 80% of them have gastrointestinal symptoms. And the research also shows that there is a strong correlation between gastrointestinal symptoms and the severity of their gastrointestinal symptoms and the severity of their autism. So there's quite a link there. And when we look at what's going on, we see big changes in the microbiome. We see a lot of pathogenic bacteria and organisms that we don't see. They can give off toxins and go to the brain and affect the brain. We see diminished levels of beneficial bacteria that we know are so important for preventing anxiety and for having good cognitive function and things like that. And when we don't break down our foods from a simple level, we don't have the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients we need for the brain to function. And I think the other really interesting thing is that we need to break down our foods, and especially the proteins, into the little amino acids. What happens with gluten and dairy is wheat and dairy-based foods is they actually can create long chains of opiates and leak through the gut and affect the brain just like morphine or any other type of opiate. So there's a very strong connection with the gut health of children with autism and what's going on in their whole body and affecting their brain.
And so
Yes.
how have your patients done when
Yes.
you've changed, given them some of your advice?
Right, we see improvements in language. I had one child, he was 3 years old. He had no language. 3 months on a gluten-free and dairy-free diet, he had 200 words. Another child that I know, he was talking to his dad. He didn't really have conversational language. 3 days on a special gluten-free diet, and he was able to have a back-and-forth conversation. So that's the other thing I would say. Is there a real link? Yes. I mean, we see it all the time. I see improvements in sociability with their family and their siblings, improvements in, of course, all the other health things that are going on, because autism is a whole body condition. It's not just a brain disorder. So when we look at it, we see things going on in the gut. That creates inflammation in the body. That creates challenges with energy and all of these other things. So skin rashes, sleep issues, hyperactivity, irritability. These are not just coincidental. These are directly related to the biochemistry of the individual. And when we work on the biochemistry of the body, we help with the symptoms of autism.
And so how does that make you feel when you get kids that, within days or weeks that you get them better? I mean, how fulfilling is that? I mean, just at a personal level.
It's amazing. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I have to say that it's so rewarding every day. I actually also know children that have recovered from autism. They've lost their diagnosis. They've gone back to their doctor. They're now going to college. So this, it's not always an easy road, but I have to say that it is the most rewarding thing, and I just love what I do, and I love the brave, courageous parents that are willing to step out there and, figure this out and work on it.
And so people, let's say there are people that are watching from around the country, the world, and they don't have you to guide them. What should they do? The parents who are saying, wow, there could be a connection, what should they do?
So if it's even getting good fats, getting probiotic-rich foods, getting good vegetables and all sorts of just healthy food that way, avoiding the pesticides and things, the artificial ingredients, when you're not able to break those down or you don't have proper detoxification for those, you can get hyperactivity, irritability, aggression, very significant. I've had a child with very significant aggression due to something simple like taking out artificial additives. So those are simple things anybody can do. And then also a gluten-free, dairy-free diet's been shown to be very, very helpful.
It's awesome. And we've talked about your book. Do you have a website that we can talk about?
I do, nourishinghope.com.
And awesome. It's giving hope to people and families with autism. Listen, we're not saying this is the end all, but certainly you want to talk about more research that needs to be done, more of a spotlight needs to be put on this, especially with the growing number of cases of autism. I ask anybody, any parents, talk to people, talk to legislators and say, we need more information on this. Instead of suppressing it, let's talk more about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Certainly life-changing information for kids with autism. Don't go away. When we come back, we'll have Partha's prescriptions. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You have been watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and today we've talked about the connection between your gut and your brain. Here's what we can take away in Partha's prescriptions. There are trillions of bacteria in your gut, and every time we eat, we're adding more and different bacteria. If they're not all in harmony, we can not only have stomach problems, but inflammation, immune problems, and brain issues. Also, depression is a tough topic to talk about, both with your family and friends and your doctor. If you think you're suffering from depression, don't delay in exploring your diet with your doctor and whether your depression could be related to your gut. Also, by being proactive, you may just get off the antidepressant you're taking. For optimal health, especially gut health, start introducing probiotics, prebiotics, and fermented foods into your diet and see how great you feel. And parents who are looking for answers for their autistic children, consider the connection between their gut health and autism. By correcting a bad gut, you may see great improvements in their condition. To stay informed about today's topic, learn about healthy living, and how to become your own health hero, visit me at AskDrNandi.com. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to follow Partha Nandi MD on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest, and just join our discussion. And lastly, there's a beautiful word in the Hindi language that literally means the light in me honors the light in you. And that word is namaste. So namaste to each and every one of you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.